and the team mediocre.
Those are good points. The difference between the guys you mentioned and Purdy is they were making some decent money.
Yeah, but that's a Brock Purdy problem, not a Niner problem.
Yeah, because he was drafted, or the last guy in the draft. But I hear you, because I'm generally patient.
Yes.
Like, I didn't think they should have gave Trevor Lawrence that deal, and that looks like.
And I guess I left Jordan Love out, but that was a weird one because he had sat.
Yeah,
and it was like his contract was up.
Right. Kyler Murray, I definitely was like too soon. Tua, yes. I was like wait, and obviously you got the injury history there. Look, if I'm Brock Purdy, maybe this answers your question. If I'm Brock Purdy, I would be happy. I would be like, look, if we're somewhere between 50 and 55 million, I'll do that. So I'm not trying. I don't have to be the highest paid quarterback in the league just because I'm next up. I don't have to top Dak. Now, he could argue he has done more than Dak Prescott.
Or Dak or whatever.
But he's done more than Dak. I mean, as far as playoffs and things like that. But if I'm Brock Purdy, and I think he might be this type of guy, I'm looking at, and people can rip you if they want, but all you got to say is Patrick Mahomes didn't take every last dollar. Tom Brady didn't take every last dollar. And so if they're willing to give Purdy between 50, 55, I'm signing up for that.
Okay, so just real quick, Coach, I want to make this clear. My hesitation is not the difference between 53 and 60. Because to me, if 60 is a mistake, 53 is a mistake. It's not quite as big of a mistake.
Jones style.
Right. It's just, is he the guy or is he not? So I'm not really talking, I'm not saying your argument's wrong about, I want Jordan Love's deal. Well, I want Dak Prescott's deal. It's, are we going to make you play another year on this deal before we commit well north, no matter whether it's 50 or 60, of $120 million guaranteed dollars and tie ourselves to you?
It wouldn't. That would make some business sense. I'm not gonna lie, even though I like Purdy, but I think he's shown enough. I mean, the dude has played. He was exceptional the last 2 years, and he's played well this year. And again, look at everybody outside of Mahomes. Even Mahomes isn't the same recently without great weapons, but outside of a couple of guys, Burrow needs weapons. He got two of the best receivers in the league. So I'm not going to hold that against Purdy.
But to Nick's point, whether you're signing for 60 or 53, you want to have a conviction on signing the guy, and either one can be a mistake. And there should be no rush to sign guys ahead of time. There's always this external pressure from the media, typically. Sign them. Pay them as much as you can pay them. And all you're doing is paying a higher price for the same player, which then hurts your ability to do other things. But from Brock's perspective, he should definitely push to get the contract. In a lot of ways, he does deserve the contract. And you could say wait and the number will go down, but that's not really how the market works. You're gonna end up doing a market deal, and you're gonna compare yourselves to other people in the market. So if we just bring up, we brought up Dak, or you brought up Dak, Chris. If you just bring up the production this season, Purdy's numbers versus Dak's are very favorable, and that's what the agent will do with the GM and say, okay, this is where we're at, and you can see Dak he's at 60 million, Purdy's at whatever 934,000.
And there's year-over-year precedent because last year they had similar numbers as well.
Yeah,
they were both way better.
There's year-over-year precedent, and it comes down to the only thing that Purdy can do if the organization decides not to sign him is you wait, so they don't replace you, and then you get injured.
So the guys are kind of debating there whether Brock Purdy should get this contract that resets the market. And, Brock has been on and off this year. Of course, the 49ers have had a ton of injuries. I mean, Ayuk, done for the season. Greenlaw has not made an appearance. McCaffrey has missed most of the season. Debo's been in and out. Kittle's been in and out. So there's been a ton of injuries. So it's definitely, we shouldn't expect Brock Purdy to put up the same numbers that we saw last year or even that partial season before in 2022 because he just doesn't have all the weapons around him. But Nick really holds it against Purdy like when, the quote-unquote Avengers or the people he calls the Avengers, right? The Debos, the Kittles, the McCaffreys. When all those guys miss time, it's like, well, Brock shouldn't drop off, right? If he's an elite quarterback or a franchise quarterback, then the 49ers should just keep winning. They should have a winning record, and Brock Purdy should be lighting up the stat sheet. just like we saw in 2022 and 2023. But the funny thing about it is, and kind of the hypocritical thing about it is, he doesn't hold the same standard to somebody like Patrick Mahomes, right? Because Mahomes this year is terrible. I mean, if you look at his numbers, yeah, he kind of shows up in the fourth quarter or overtime, but his numbers this year are really bad. I mean, he's just like really a mid-level quarterback this year when it comes to his stats. So we'll kind of see if that continues for Mahomes or if he turns it on once the postseason hits. If he can ramp it up and play a little better. But I mean, with the defense the way it is right now for Kansas City, I mean, he doesn't really need to. So yeah, we'll kind of see how that one plays out. But as far as Brock goes, I mean, he's had some very elite games this year. He's definitely won some games for the Niners this year, or put them in a position to win some games, whether they won or not. He's had some elite games. So, overall, he's just got a passer rating of 95.9 this year, which is definitely down. The picks are kind of high at 8 picks already, and he doesn't have a ton of touchdowns. He's only got 13 touchdowns. He does have a good amount of yards at 2,600. So, he's throwing for good yards. TDs aren't so great. Picks are kind of high. Rating is definitely down. But, 95.9, a little bit of an off year on the passer rating for Purdy. But, he's definitely had those elite games. If you look at the game against the Rams, he had 292 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, a rating of 137.1. So he really lit it up there. The first time the Niners played the Seahawks this year, he lit it up. Passer rating of 129.3, 255 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Against the Chiefs, that was absolutely horrendous. He only threw for 212 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 picks. So that was by far the worst game of the season for Brock. And, the Kansas City defense is really good. So that's no surprise that he would have his worst game of the year against the Chiefs. And then the Cardinals game was pretty bad too. He only had a rating of 62.1, only threw for 244 yards, which, I mean, isn't bad yards-wise, but when you only have 1 TD and 2 picks, that's really hurting the team, really hurting his stats there. And there's just been some other games too that have kind of been off, like this last one, or the one before the Packers game where he went against the Seahawks. That was pretty bad too. 85.3 rating, only 159 pass yards, 1 TD and 1 pick. So yeah, not really good there. And then also the Pats game, he didn't play that well. I mean, he had 288 yards, which I guess is good yardage-wise. But 1 TD, 1 pick only puts him at a rating of 89.7. So, definitely some off games here. Some games that, Nick is using his firepower to claim he's not elite, right? Or he's not a franchise quarterback. Even the opener against the Jets. I mean, Niners won that game, but Purdy did not play that well. No touchdowns. At least he didn't turn the ball over. No picks. But no pass TDs. 231 yards passing, which gave him a rating of only 89.9. So, just kind of up and down this year. Definitely an off year for Purdy. Let me know what you think about it. Do you think Brock Purdy deserves a contract that resets the market? Do you think he should get more money than Dak? Should he push up above that $60 million per year mark? Or do you think Purdy should get like maybe a T-Law type of deal at 55 or, maybe even less? Do you think the Niners should even consider paying Brock? So let me know what you think about it in the comments section. Appreciate you for taking the time to watch this. I will talk to you soon.